shop called Yojiya. So we're just gonna go to the right here and go straight up to Kinkakuji. Let's go. So actually Kinkakuji is one of the highlights of Kyoto. It's located in the northwest section of the city. And sometimes you can see some movie stars or some high-ranking political officials. I was actually here eating a march and we weren't allowed to go in for about 10 minutes because the president of Serbia happened to be there with his security entourage. So not only is it a famous temple in its own right, it attracts a lot of famous people as well. So we've crossed the street and now we're going to make our approach to the actual entrance to Kinkakuji. So Kinkakuji, or the Gold Temple, has quite an interesting history behind it. And it was actually designated in 1994 a UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Site. But originally it was an imperial villa that was held by the aristocratic family by the name of Saionji. And they took possession of the property in 1224. However, a few generations down the line, one of the Saionji family members was involved in a plot to overthrow the emperor at the time, Daigoji. And so, because of that, the land and title was stripped from that family. And it appears the compound was vacant for quite a while. And then in 1397, the third shogun of the Ashikaga clan decided to take over possession of the land. And he was basically, he had kind of become a very strong shogun at the time, and he was looking to retire. So what he did was he passed on the title to his 8-year-old son at the time, and basically decided to take residence here. And he made it his villa. Alright, so we've just purchased our big tickets to get into the Kinkakuji. And they're written in Chinese characters, but basically this means the Gold Pavilion. And it's kind of to protect you. And so this would mean for your family safety and overall good luck. And so we have to provide these, or show these to the ticket gate to actually get in. Alright, so here we are, standing in front of the Gold Pavilion. Ashikaga Yoshimitsu, the third shogun, he commissioned to have the Gold Pavilion built. However, this one that we see in front of us is not the original. The original was actually not as impressive, I guess, in terms of the gold being kind of put on the temple itself. The original was kind of had more of a lacquer base on the outside, and it was kind of dotted with gold flakes, if you will. And it actually had started peeling off at one point in time. However, at the time, around 1397, it was reported to be the most precious building in Kyoto. And it kind of, in Yoshimitsu's mind, reflected his, I guess, status as a shogun. And the shogun is actually a military leader. However, the emperor was still kind of a figurehead, if you will. But in Yoshimitsu's mind, to kind of, bring the point home that he was the de facto leader, I guess he created this as a kind of one of those ways of actually illustrating his status as the shogun. So we're standing in front of the Mirror Lake Pond, which is directly in front of the Gold Pavilion. And the pond and garden itself is built in a Pure Land Buddhist style, which accentuates the natural characteristics of the garden. However, many of the rocks appear to have come from different countries. And also, the garden seems to have been built on the premise of a traditional Indian text, which represent the world at that time as 9 mountain ranges and 8 seas. And this garden has been designated as one of Japan's special historic and scenic spots. Alright, so we're standing in front of the main hall and within the grounds of Kinkakuji. And inside the hall itself, there are some aspects or certain artifacts from the previous pavilion itself. And there are staff who can speak a little English to kind of help out with some of the explanations. However, this is an extra 1,000 yen to get into the main hall. So if you're willing to, I guess, splurge a little bit, you can get a little bit more of a cultural feel for the Kinkakuji. Over here we have the land-boat pine tree, which was originally Yoshimitsu's bonsai tree. As you can see, it's grown quite considerably since then. And the reason why it's called the land-boat pine tree is because of the shape. If you can see the kind of part of the tree jutting out, that's meant to be the bow of the boat. And it's actually in the direction of the west, which signifies in Pure Land Buddhism the direction to the Pure Land. So in Japanese history, there's a period referred to as Kitayama-den culture, and that was heavily influenced by Yoshimitsu and his building of the gold pavilion. During the Kitayama-den period, which is roughly from 1397 till, I guess, about the early 1400s, there was a lot of contact between Yoshimitsu and China, more specifically the Ming Dynasty. And there's a lot of contact and there's a lot of exchange. And at this period, Yoshimitsu comes in contact more specifically with Buddhism and Zen Buddhism. And so there's a lot of Japanese Zen monks who are going to China, and there's an exchange of Zen Buddhism and a lot of artifacts, and those were brought back, and Yoshimitsu was heavily influenced by this. And the gold pavilion's architecture was also heavily influenced, the interior design. On the first floor, it's decorated in more of a noble manner, and it houses the principal image of the Buddha along with the image of Yoshimitsu himself. On the second floor, it's kind of unclear as to what the design is about, but it's decorated in a samurai style and reflects a strong devotion towards Buddhism, and more specifically the Kannon, or the God of Mercy. And on the third level, it's more or less a multi-purpose room, but it's also decorated with a few Buddhist images. And then finally, on the top of the gold pavilion, it's a Chinese phoenix, and it represents a call for happiness. And that stems actually all the way back to China.